sb56 sub-bill for the following reasons and offer improvements. We must protect our most vulnerable seniors, veterans, cancer patients, and people like me living with serious health conditions. Medical patients should not be taxed. Removing taxes could help bring back thousands who have left our program. Medical patients should be allowed to smoke cannabis. It makes no sense that adult use consumers can smoke, but patients can't. If THC limits are reduced, high-potency products should remain available for medical patients. We must stop criminalizing how cannabis is stored in vehicles. No jail time or fines is needed. Products should be stored where kids or pets cannot reach them, like in a sealed or childproof container. Smell alone should not justify a search from law enforcement. Cannabis consumption spaces are long overdue. If Ohio is considering allowing THC beverages to be sold in bars and restaurants, we should also consider designated areas at these venues where adults can legally smoke cannabis. Just like we have bars for alcohol, cannabis consumers need a safe, legal space to consume. I propose that we establish a system of event-based and venue-specific permits that allow smoking or vaping at approved private events or consumption-friendly businesses. Cannabis event rules need clarity. I propose venue-based and annual event permits issued by the Division of Cannabis Control with clear rules will support legal and safe and successful events. Home growers should be permitted to sell seeds and clones at expos, festivals, and markets. Medical patients should be allowed to grow 12 plants per person, not per household. Selling a small number of clones without license should be permitted. Selling more could require a vendor permit. I propose we rename the Social Equity Program to the Cannabis Opportunity Community Program, or COCP. This program should receive 26% of the adult sales revenue to support licensing, access, job creation, expungement, and community reinvestment. COCP could be managed by the Ohio Department of Development. An additional 10% of adult use sales should support public cannabis education, local testing access, and law enforcement retraining on cannabis laws and Division of Cannabis Control policies. I would like to also launch the Cannabis Public Education Program, or CPEP, with the support and funding of the state of Ohio. CPEP would serve cannabis consumers and non-licensed businesses by providing multi-language, multimedia education to close the gap of public understanding about legal cannabis. Public testing should be offered at health departments so residents can test flower, edibles, or concentrates from any source, reducing the stigma and promoting safety. Ohio voters are frustrated. Many people across the state have different understandings of what is legal and what isn't. When it comes to cannabis, because of public information has been inconsistent, and laws often feel different depending on what city or county you live in. I urge you to attend town halls this summer to connect with voters. If we don't get this right, we can't keep losing to Michigan in football and cannabis. Thank you for your time today. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have or meet with you at another date.
Great, thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Our next witness is Simon Dunle from Ohio. Welcome to committee.
Thank you. Take me just a second.
Okay, no problem.
A little hitch when I get on.
No problem.
So good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Simon Dunle. I'm Executive Director of Ohio Normal. I've also worked here as an employee in 114th General Assembly for Vern Reif, Betty Black, Merle Shoemaker, Morris Tisney. So I've been here before. What I'd like to see, we've attempted on many levels for many years. I started testifying in 2012 to try to make a connection so that we could do something on this subject. Despite efforts of trying to educate legislators, it never seems to come to fruition. I've gotten to the point where I want to ask you, educate me. Why does it have to be like this? Why do we have to do it this way? When we have the knowledge of 38, 39 other states that have done it. And you hear the governor talk about the Ohio way. Right now, the Ohio way is nothing but kind of embarrassing because this isn't this difficult. And with the shell game of bills and places to look for relevant information, whether it's budgets or committees or whatever, it's gotten to be a bit ridiculous because it seems like you don't really want anybody to know. And as much as time as you put into getting input, you don't seem to process that input. I approached Senator Moore's office a year or two ago about the medical program and was told that I was Noah's Arking the bill, which of course infers there's a big problem that they do recognize. And I think that we need to move forward and get past whatever problems you have with cannabis and its users, and get to the point of let's let the state make the money, let's let everybody in the system make the money, but we need to cover the consumer. And discrimination law, language, criminal justice reform, and social equity are at the top of the list. And frankly, you need to just sort of stop this process and go back to issue 2 and start from there, because you've been told by the state constituents of the state that's what they want, and yet you've ignored that, and you continue to ignore that. And all you have to do is look at the situation with testimony. You've had insurmountable amounts, I guess, of opponent testimony, 60 or more, and you're adding to that today. Proponent testimony is 10 or 12 or 15, and we seem to exist in a vacuum as opponent testimony speakers, which I'd like to know why that is, because I've got 50 years working with the plant. I've been trying to get change in Ohio for 15 years, started coming here on the subject in 2012. When you look at things like limiting concentrates to 70%, it takes RSO and FICO basically out of the game from being relevant medications. When it comes to the tax rate and its distribution, that continues to be an issue because the very community that's creating this fund doesn't get any help from those funds. And that needs to be addressed as well. And you also need to allow free and open testing of all products for contamination and quality assurance, because you need to follow like the U of Maine. They found 120 samples through their program, 42% of them were contaminated. And one of them was with a pesticide that creates cyanide gas when the flower is immolated. So that's a problem. And it's better to know and do something than not know and let something happen. Excuse me. We also need to create like DORAs, the drinking areas in public for special events. Create quotas for marijuana. I mean, you take a small area and basically a small building, glass, plastic, whatever, put a large vent filter on it, and then you've got an area where they can use and in public, so you can reduce arrests and reduce public consumption, and everybody's happy. But those things need to be considered, because if you give us the product and don't give us the right use, there's no real sense in having it. And lastly, I'd like to point out, that you're kind of in a precarious situation because you're about to be known as one of the largest criminal conspiracies against your own constituents and neighbors in U.S. history. You legalized the commodity, gave access to it, then allowed it to be recriminalized, overpriced, highly taxed, while continuing to make arrests for it, all along providing no support or recourse for real rights of use for citizens of the state. You surreptitiously taken advantage of federal law while damaging the very consumers you supposedly rescuing from federal law. Please put the process on hold until we can recognize the will of the voters, issue 2, and not the will of the legislators. The opportunity still exists for you to work with cannabis consumers and advocates. Sarah Coy is here from Athens. She was instrumental in the taco effort down there. We've also got EBTHC, Eric's here, Matt from Cannabis. And like I said, I've got 50 years experience. I mean, we can work together. If you can explain to me why it needs to be this way, then I can stop coming and sweating at the podium. Or you got, or we can explain how this works, why it works, and why I didn't die in 2012 like I was supposed to. So, I appreciate it. Anybody else any input or questions? I'm here for
Mr. Dunle, thank you for your testimony. For the record, the substitute bill, the one we're working on, our latest version is on the Judiciary Committee website, so it is available there.
Okay.
Are there any questions for Mr. Dunle? Representative Callahan.
Thank you. As much a comment as a question, I want to thank you for coming in. I'm not going to repeat this for every speaker, but again, thank you all for your participation. As a result of that, there was a substitute bill put in last week that addressed a couple of the issues you talk about. And one of the reasons that it is not up for a vote today is we're still negotiating and working on some amendments to address several of the other issues. So the very specific issues you addressed have been being worked on or will be addressed in the next week or two. So for all of you that are here testifying, I want to thank you. You've made a difference, and it's going to make a much better product. And I'm optimistic that you may not be perfectly happy, but you're going to say, you know, this is okay when it comes up.
Well, I
So
appreciate
thank you for your participation.
Well, I appreciate your.
And good to see you again.
And good to see you. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it.
Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, and I apologize for not having everything about Sub Bill 56 on my mind, but,
You only had 4 days.
well, 4 days and hips that just seemed to like to go their own way.
It also changed again last night.
So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, you added
Our
more.
next witness is Eric Whitehead.
Eric.
Oh, awesome.
Mike.
Yeah. Is Teddy here? Hey, Teddy. The coalition really, the Ohio Cannabis Consumer Coalition really appreciates you. Those pamphlets I was talking about, got them right here today. I was going to try and hand them out, but I'm just going to, if it's okay with you guys, you'll be able to hand those out. Those are called zines. It's short for mini magazine. It's a pamphlet with some basic educational content on it. And sorry, let me start over. Chair, members of the committee, thank you all for coming here. Honestly, though, it's a shame that I have to see you all again under these circumstances. But as Calendar has pointed out, when duty calls, this community answers. 40 more testimonies today is pretty impressive if you ask me. I did want to thank many of you here on this committee today. I've been inspired by many of you. Calendar, I know we had a little bit of a heated discussion last time, but you did inspire me. I did my own homegrown joints today. Unfortunately, I can't test those because I don't have access to the labs. Some of the labs have actually written to the DCC to test some of my stuff, but they can't do that. We're locked out of that. Maybe you guys have better connections than I do. If you want, I have some dude tubes here. I can put some of these in the empties. You guys can take them, maybe take them to a lab. Let me know what I'm working with. I'm not sure if this is federally compliant THC 8, Delta 8, A. You know, it's tough to know. You guys' language is unclear, and I can't test it. I got him from Jeffrey Goff. He's testified in front of you guys before. I bought him from his licensed company, Yggdrasil Genetics. He's also the man who owns Galena's. I've grown his cannabis outdoors, federally compliant with ORC 3780. Back to my notes here. Sorry, I got a little carried away. So again, Calendar, thank you for that. Rep. Odioso took the call of my colleague, Rodney Hash. That's not even his constituent, but he did take the time to speak with him, which I found very inspiring. Everybody over here, Isaacson, Mohammed, Thames, and Sonnenberg. Sonnenberg called me on recess and we spoke for 45 minutes and I educated him about this industry. And when I finished talking for 10 minutes, he didn't tell me I talked too much. He asked follow-up questions. Rep. Thomas, Chair, you've inspired me by your lack of accountability to your constituents. Does the name James Powers mean anything to you?
It's not.
Okay, well, just to inform you, that is one of your constituents. He is a veteran. He's called your office over 10 times to speak about this. He's spoken on a national level about this. He'd like to hear back from you. Thank you. Representative Stewart, you've inspired me as well. Your lack of accountability to your own legislation and the inability to answer questions in the public sphere has inspired me. I get really anxious if you can't tell, but I consume a lot of cannabis to make sure that I can speak to you guys fluently and professionally. Otherwise, I'd probably be a little bit more angry. Because you're coming after my livelihood. Do you understand that? I don't know what you just saw. I handed to Simon Dunle. Those are my homemade RSO edibles. Those are legal under ORC 3780. I am not using hydrocarbon processing, if that means anything to you. I decided to put my badge on today. I don't normally do that. I'm not here representing King City Gardens, but I do work as a community outreach manager for King City Gardens. A level 1 cultivator in this state located out of Forest Park. If any of you want a tour of a level 1 facility that is using technology that the rest of this industry does not, come check us out. I've spoken about remediation here before. I've asked you guys to have the regulators, the DCC, put labels on the jar. They like to put their DCC logo. I'd like to see a logo on there that says this product has been remediated if we have moldy cannabis that has been sent through a microwave or radiation and sold to the consumers. Why are we hiding that information from them? If you want to see a facility that runs with 25,000 square feet and doesn't use remediation, come check us out. We're working with Grove Bags. They are located out of Cleveland, Ohio. They are a local company and they are now being used nationwide for their technology. If you want to see a processor, I have connections at Cannabis and Jimmy Gould, who worked with many of you guys back when this program first started. We're working with his company, Cannabis, and they're processing some of our products. I have seen the very people working there. They have some of the smartest, I don't know if the name Daxtraction Labs means anything to you. He is an Ohio-made cannabis processor. He has now been hired by Cannabis and he is now working there. He can teach you more about processing than anybody in this room can. It's clear to those paying attention that the community intends to move rapidly. Whether it's combining these dates, moving these things, it's great to hear that we're making an impact, but we'd like to start the conversation over. One of my favorite books by Pierce Brown, Red Rising, talks about changing the bloody damn paradigm, and that's what I'm here to do today. That pamphlet I gave out has got a lot of educational content on there. I'm happy to share more. My website is on there as well. It's how many people have figured out how to speak with you all. I don't know if you guys are close with your colleague, Representative Kelly Digner, but I was in Delphos yesterday talking to one of her constituents, general manager at a dispensary out there. Her community is mad at her because she's withholding the money from them. Do you know how crazy that is? I talked to somebody in that store. I have IBS, so I have to go to the bathroom at least 10 times a day sometimes. Yesterday, a woman in a dispensary gave me a fist bump because of that, because cannabis helps us both with that. Another person there talked to me. I talked to them about my suicidal ideation and how cannabis terpenes such as osmine helped me fight those thoughts, and he almost cried when I shared that with him. How do you look at your colleague Kelly Digner and tell her that that community leader that has hired those people and helped them, that she's withholding the money? How do you sleep at night? Withholding the money from those communities, it's not for the cost of what happened there, it's rewarding the communities for being forward thinking. You're gonna hear from many colleagues today from the Cannabis Consumer Coalition. There's a lot more issues that I don't have time to address today, but I came here to offer you a new paradigm, and many of the people here are gonna speak with you. I have to thank you all.
Thank you for your time. I'm sorry to take your testimony. Are there any questions for the witness?
Is my time up?
Your time.
Okay.
Representative Senator, question.
Just more comment, just wanted, Eric, through the chair, Mr. White, thanks for your testimony and for this information. And we have spoken, and I appreciate your trying to educate us. And to echo Rep. Calver's earlier comments, we're definitely working on trying to get some of the stuff that you explained to us and some of your concerns addressed with this legislation. So thanks again for your time.
Thank you, through the chair, to the rep. I'm looking forward to lunch next week.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Next witness is Daniel Durant, from the Ohio Cannabis Consumer Coalition.
There you go, James. Glad to
Appreciate that, brother. Alrighty. Oh, sorry about that. I'm having a little trouble with the microphone here. Alrighty. Chair, members of the committee, thank you for having me today. My name is Daniel Delsignor Jr., and I'm here today to speak in opposition to Senate Bill 56. As a medical cannabis patient and responsible cannabis consumer in the state of Ohio, I want to be clear. Senate Bill 56 fails to honor the will of the people, the very voters who passed Issue 2 into law in November of 2023. Let's remember what happened in November of 2023. Over 57% of Ohioans voted in favor of cannabis legalization. That's more than voted for Governor DeWine. That's not just a win, it's a landslide, and that means something. That means the people of Ohio spoke clearly and decisively. They want legal access, they want social equity, and they want responsible tax revenue distribution. Under the law passed by the people, 36% of cannabis tax revenue is to be distributed to communities, including 15% directly to cities and municipalities that allow legal cannabis sales in their jurisdiction. Senate Bill 56 threatens to undercut that promise. Why should cities that support legalization and bear the responsibility of regulation be denied their fair share? This isn't about partisanship. This isn't even about cannabis at its core. This is about democracy. It's about whether elected officials will listen to the will of the constituents that they serve. As a patient, I use cannabis daily to manage mental health conditions safely and effectively. I use cannabis as harm reduction. Cannabis has effectively saved my life from benzodiazepines, alcohol, and other dangerous substances. Make no mistake, I'm alive today because of cannabis. Why are you trying to take our medicine away and recriminalize us for a non-toxic substance, claiming it's to protect the children when we have Sunny D vodka seltzers, Welch's grape juice alcoholic beverages, Not Your Father's root beer and orange cream soda, all of which are attractive to children and very lethal? Alcohol kills 3 million individuals worldwide. Additionally, according to Dr. Keith Humphreys in the American Academy of Clinical Toxicology, no child has ever died from an accidental cannabis ingestion. With this information, why aren't we cracking down on that alcohol as opposed to a substance which has had 50,000 peer-reviewed studies completed on it, and we still cannot find an LD50, meaning lethal dose? Where are the priorities? Is it really protecting the children or making more money off of your constituents in an unfair way and using ignorance to do it? I am not a criminal. We are not criminals. I'm an Ohioan. We are all Ohioans. And I stand here today because I believe that the law that voters pass must be respected in the way it was passed, not rewritten to fit someone else's agenda to reflect weaker medicine because some in Ohio Senate are still uneducated when it comes to cannabis. I urge you to please reject Senate Bill 56 and please listen to your constituents, including myself, when we call. Please respect democracy and uphold issue 2. Thank you for having me today and hearing my testimony. I am willing to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions for the witness? Seeing none.
Thank you.
For your testimony.
Our next witness is Rodney Hash from the Cannabis Consumer Coalition. Rodney Hash.
Yep, right here. Sorry. Just had to get the lab mic back. All right. Chair, Vice Chair, Ranking Member, and members of this committee. I would like to thank you today for the opportunity to speak in opposition of sb56. Despite the recent amendments, it still undermines much of what Ohio voters overwhelmingly passed on issue 2. My name is Rodney Hennessy, but most people in the cannabis space know me as Rodney Hash. I've worked in every part of the cannabis industry, from cultivation and extraction to retail and education, and I currently help lead the Ohio Cannabis Consumer Coalition. We represent a diverse group of Ohioans from across the political spectrum, and as you see today, we come in numbers. This is not a partisan issue, and again, we asked for more progress, not more prohibition. We're supposed to go forwards, not backwards. A lot of the things, including within the amendments, go back on the decrim law that we passed 10 years ago. SB 56 contains several concerning provisions. Most notably, it continues to favor the current existing operators, giving them more grow space, going from 25,000 square foot for level 1 operators to 100. You're not allowing the small scale operators and you're shutting them out. There's no new operators, still. One of the many promises of issue 2 was equity. That means giving the little guy a chance. If you really are concerned about fighting the illegal market, make it to where you don't have to be a millionaire to be able to go through the legal avenue. Give them a shot. Let them be legal. Let them pay taxes. That's what the founders would have wanted. The founders of this very country grew hemp. The first bill ever passed on this ground, in America, required farmers to grow it because it was such a big cash crop. I know our textbooks say that tobacco was the biggest cash crop, but that's a lie. It was hemp. Hemp is cannabis, not just the textile. In Washington's diary, he said that he went through and killed off his males late and he was upset about it. Why do you think he would be upset about it? Because then he has seeds in his end product. Because he's looking to grow the flower to smoke it and consume it. Jefferson almost caused an international incident procuring seeds from China. Like, he almost caused an international incident as this country was being founded. That's how important to him it was. This bill creates many new unnecessary new crimes, including the sub-bill, such as if you're hitting a vape pen as a passenger in a car or you're being Ubered, now you're being labeled a criminal and putting the driver at risk. We asked, as voters, to normalize and regulate responsibly, not irresponsibly. Additionally, combining the med and rec programs without separate testing, without separate standards, not giving any patients protections or rights, it's hurting them. It's hurting a lot of people, specifically patients. And as a doctor, I would hope we would expect better. They deserve better. The hemp program, the rec program, and the med program should all be under the Department of Agriculture. Maybe we should stop with the agricultural prejudice. Finally, limiting the number of dispensaries just makes absolutely no sense at all. I'm from Cleveland. we just, for the first time in my lifetime, seen a reduction in opioid deaths. And that matters a lot to me. A large number of my graduating class from 2014 is no longer with us due to opioids. AA in Canada supports using cannabis to get off of alcohol and opioids. I'm sure a lot of people in this room didn't even know that. That's been going on since I was in high school. This is not correlation, this is causation. We've seen a reduction in opioid deaths in every state that has legalized both medical and recreational marijuana. That's proven. It's state after state after state, and now in our great state of Ohio. And I would like to see that continue. More access, not less access. That's the answer for that. This is just a few of my many, many concerns about sb56, including the amendments. It's better than it was, but it's not enough. I recommend you guys restart from scratch. None of what's in there is good. You have dozens of people in this room that would love to give you feedback, and I would love to help educate you rationally. I appreciate your time. I open the floor for dialogue. I also have a podcast. If anyone would like to have an open, respectful dialogue about this, I encourage everyone. My podcast is Rodney Hash. If you Google me, you'll find it. I thank you for your time and attention on this issue, especially Representative Callender, Representative Odioso, Representative Mohammed, Representative Isaacson, Representative Timms, and Representative Seinenberg, all of which have been very receptive to us and working with all of us in this coalition. So I thank you guys very much so.
Mr. Hennessy, thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions for the witness? Ranking Member.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for being here. I just want to take the opportunity to thank all the advocates for your sustained passion for this issue, for speaking up, and especially for really framing in your testimony in sort of personal terms and why you're advocating for something that is so important to you and your community. I think it would just be helpful to get a sense from you of where you think either what you're most concerned about, like you had to triage, or where you think the most ripe opportunity for progress is?
I think the most opportunity for progress is opening up the market. I think the biggest thing is not like we increased the cap from 350 to 400 with the amendment, which is good. But as I said, the more access that we have, the less opioid deaths we have. And maybe that's not even just dispensaries. Maybe that's farmers markets where we could, again, tax them, regulate it. And there's Vehicle City Social and Clio Cultivation up in Michigan to give you guys examples of legal ways to do this. And I've personally seen farmers work with like old ladies that they've got a tab with them that they've forgiven tons of debt so that way they can have their medicine because it's important to people.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone.
The next witness is Elliot Durant from the Consumer Coalition. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. To the chairman, vice chairman, and all members of the committee. Oh, sorry. So let me start over. So chairman, vice chairman, and all members of the committee, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak before you today. As you've probably heard from everyone, most of our speeches involve education, and in my opinion, this is one thing that we all lack here in one way or another. Between the consumers, the patients, the politicians, the industry, there's a lack of education, and that's the one thing I think that can really bring us together. So with that being said, my name is Elliot Durant. I am a member of the Ohio Cannabis Consumer Coalition, but today I come to you as just a passionate advocate for a plant that has saved many lives. Cannabis has been a big part of my life for 26 years now. I am 38. You do the math there. Now that may not be something you want to hear, but it is a reality, especially when growing up in the inner city on the east side of Cleveland as a young minority where we're not educated about cannabis at all. Cannabis has been a big part of my life in many ways, from using to growing to being a part of the community to representing the culture, and for the last 6 years, being in the Ohio legal cannabis industry. I strongly oppose Senate Bill 56, not out of disregard for rule of law, but out of deep concern for the democratic process and for the will of the people. The voters of the state made their voices clear when they passed Issue 2. They did not vote for half measures or hidden rollbacks. They voted for a future where cannabis policies reflect fairness, common sense, and forward progress, not outdated stigmas or punitive overreach. Senate Bill 56 disregards that mandate. Rather than honoring the voter-approved framework, this bill pivots towards criminalization, targeting individuals who share cannabis with one another. If our goal is to promote public safety and public health, then we must educate, not incarcerate. I want to say that just one more time. We must educate, not incarcerate. There's a glaring lack of comprehensive cannabis education in Ohio, just like it was when I started when I was 12. Whether it's law enforcement, politicians, medical professionals, or even the public, there is a need for cannabis education. Instead of investing in education and harm reduction, this bill doubles down on punitive measures. That is not progress, that is regression. We must also acknowledge a broader truth. Cannabis policy has for far too long been weaponized disproportionately against marginalized communities. Senate Bill 56 risks repeating those injustices under the guise of regulation. Respectfully, I urge this body to pause to consider whether this legislation reflects the will of voters or simply the will to control a movement they do not understand or have not been educated on. Ohioans voted for legalization, but this is recriminalization in disguise. Do not betray those who place trust in you, yet lead with compassion, with fairness, respect, and most importantly, education. Before I finish, I know you guys like to ask questions, but I do have a question for you guys. Have any of you ever been into an Ohio metric dispensary?
So I will let them answer that if they wish. Are there any questions for the witness? Representative Mohammed, question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Durant, for your testimony. I just want to say thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I was echoed with Rep. Sennenberg and Rep. Callender as well. I was at the Cannabis Town Hall a couple weeks ago and I had a chance to see a lot of you. So again, thank you for what you're doing. It makes a difference. We're making good progress. I want to give a special recognition to Lincoln Rising for his effort as well, really in making sure that we're putting a good step forward, that we're making some progress, especially in some of the criminalization parts of the bill. So again, thank you again.
Any other questions for the witness? Representative Callender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With permission, I'd like to answer the question that was asked by the witness.
Please proceed.
I can tell you that yes, I have been to fairly public in my visits to some of the dispensaries, but I've taken a number of members both on this committee and general members, and I know there's some folks in the audience that are part of the industry. And I want to compliment my colleagues, even those who are not real enthusiastic about the industry, for taking the time to visit grow sites, dispensaries, processors, and testing labs. And I've personally been on visits to each of those with multiple members of the General Assembly. So the majority of members have taken the time to visit and get educated, and it's helped us as this bill has moved forward.